Rahim Ansari was the loyal employee, Miwish Khan the charming wife, and Jamal the forgotten ex-staffer. But behind closed doors, these three names were bound by a deadly secret that turned lust into blackmail and betrayal into murder. Rahim Ansari had always believed in hard work. At 32, he had finally secured a stable job at one of Karachi's top construction firms. He wasn't the loudest or the smartest in the office, but he was reliable, the kind of man who completed every task before deadline, dressed neatly, and spoke only when spoken to. His quiet dedication didn't go unnoticed. Over time, his name began to appear more frequently in meetings, and he was often chosen for projects that required a responsible hand. While most of his colleagues were caught up in office politics or spent hours trying to impress the management, Rahim simply worked. The company was run by Arif Khan, a stern, influential man known for his success and wealth. He had built the firm from nothing and demanded the same discipline and seriousness from his employees. His presence alone could make an entire office go silent. But it wasn't just Arif's dominance that caught attention. It was also his wife, Mewish. Much younger than him, Mewish had a reputation for her elegance and charm. She occasionally appeared at corporate events, dressed in tasteful designer clothes, always standing at a graceful distance from her husband, never speaking too much. Her presence turned heads, though she carried herself with dignity. Her eyes always seemed to carry a silent, restless expression, as if she were searching for something beyond the luxury surrounding her. Rahim first met Mewish during a company dinner, celebrating the successful completion of a high-rise project. She was seated at the same table as senior managers, and Rahim, recently promoted, had been invited to join. Their first exchange was brief, polite smiles and a formal compliment on the event's arrangement. But something lingered in the air. Mewish's gaze rested on Rahim a few seconds longer than necessary. He noticed but said nothing. He returned home that night feeling strangely unsettled, unsure why a simple look from a stranger left his thoughts scattered. Over the next few months, Rahim began receiving personal invitations from Mr. Khan to attend weekend brunches at their residence. It was always under the pretense of discussing upcoming projects or reviewing reports, but the meetings were increasingly informal. Arif often left halfway through to take calls, leaving Rahim and Mewish alone with tea and silence. Initially their interactions were formal and awkward, but slowly the distance between them shortened. Mewish began asking about Rahim's background, his interests, and whether he had family in the city. Her tone was always soft, her expressions unreadable. Rahim tried to ignore the attention, but curiosity and pride began to creep in. A woman like her, noticing a man like him. It felt flattering, powerful even. He had grown up in a modest neighborhood, worked his way through night classes and side jobs. Now he was sitting in a luxurious home, sipping tea from cups worth more than his monthly salary, speaking with the wife of the city's most influential contractor. What had begun as a professional association was now drifting toward something more personal, more dangerous. The line between respect and desire was becoming thinner each day, and neither Rahim nor Mewish seemed ready to stop. The transition from harmless glances to secret meetings happened faster than Rahim had expected. At first, it was subtle, a lingering eye contact, a soft laugh at a joke he didn't expect to be funny, a brief touch while handing over a file. These small gestures grew into late-night texts, sent under fake names, then into hours-long phone calls where Mewish shared pieces of a life Rahim never imagined she lived. She spoke of loneliness, of a husband consumed by power and business, of nights spent staring at the ceiling in silence. Rahim listened, silently drawn deeper into her world. Their first meeting outside the Khan residence was innocent on the surface. They met at a cafe on the outskirts of the city, both careful not to draw attention. Mewish wore sunglasses and a simple outfit, nothing like her usual luxury wardrobe. Rahim noticed how relaxed she looked, even happy. She smiled more freely, leaned in when she spoke and laughed without hesitation. It was a stark contrast to the quiet, composed woman he had seen at company events. That meeting led to another, and then soon they were booking hotel rooms in distant parts of Karachi, always under different names, always checking in at separate times. What began as an emotional connection had turned physical, intense and dangerous. Rahim was living two lives. At the office, he remained the disciplined employee, trusted by Arif and respected by peers. But outside, he was tangled in an affair with the one woman he should have stayed away from. The thrill was addictive. Every message, every secret call in the middle of the night, every locked hotel room, felt like a rebellion against the life he once knew. And Miwish, with her seductive charm and whispered promises, became the center of his world. But things started to change. Miwish was no longer content with hidden meetings and short-lived moments. She wanted more attention, more control, more of Rahim's time. She started calling him at odd hours, demanding he leave work early, insisting they meet even when it wasn't safe. Her tone, once sweet and affectionate, turned sharp when Rahim hesitated. She spoke of dreams they could live together, far from the city, far from her husband. Rahim, though flattered, began to feel the weight of it all. He wasn't ready to abandon everything, not yet. Meanwhile, others had started to notice. A co-worker once joked about how Rahim always seemed to leave early on Fridays. The office driver mentioned seeing Miwish's car parked far from the main gate more than once. Though no one had any proof, suspicion was in the air. Rahim tried to remain calm, but paranoia crept in. He changed routes, deleted messages, and began to question everyone around him. Still, he couldn't stay away from Miwish. She had become both his escape and his burden. The affair that once felt exciting now felt suffocating. Yet neither Rahim nor Miwish was willing to let go. In their own ways, they had crossed a line, one that couldn't be uncrossed, and while they were lost in their secret world, someone else had already discovered it and was watching from the shadows. Rahim was already tense when he saw the first envelope on his car windshield. It was a plain white packet, unmarked, tucked under the wiper like a parking ticket. Inside he found 5 photographs, grainy but clear enough. One showed him entering a hotel lobby with Miwish. Another, more damning, captured them sitting together in a dimly lit room, too close to be mistaken for anything innocent. His heart pounded as he flipped through them, hands trembling, scanning the parking lot around him, but there was no one in sight, no explanation. No name, no threat, just silence. 2 days later, another envelope arrived. This time at his apartment door, more photographs. And this time, a single note was included. "End it, or everyone will know." There was no address, no signature, just those chilling words. Rahim felt the walls closing in. Someone knew, someone had been following them, collecting evidence, waiting for the right time to strike. He couldn't tell if it was Arif, a jealous colleague, or someone else entirely. The possibilities circled his mind like vultures. He stopped answering Miwish's calls and started showing up to work late, distracted and nervous. He barely slept, and when he did, it was only to wake up sweating from nightmare. Miwish noticed the change immediately. She demanded answers. Her messages became frantic, accusing him of abandoning her, of losing his courage. But Rahim couldn't risk it anymore. He knew if Arif found out, it wouldn't just be his job at stake, it could cost him everything, including his life. He begged Miwish to stay away for a while, to let things cool down. She refused. Her love turned to anger. She accused him of using her, of being a coward, of not deserving the life she was offering. Meanwhile, Rahim began investigating the source of the threats himself. He checked the CCTV footage from near his building, visited the hotel to ask about their guest logs, even questioned the office security guards under the guise of misplaced keys. Nothing made sense. Whoever was watching him was smart, invisible, and patient. The fear turned into obsession. Every unknown number that rang on his phone made his stomach twist. Every whisper at the office felt like it was about him. He even considered going to the police, but he knew that once the story got out, it would spread like wildfire. Not just through the company but through the entire industry. Then, one morning, the final blow came. Arif Khan received an anonymous email with attachments. Dozens of photos, screenshots of call records, transaction logs, and hotel bookings, all linking Rahim to Mwish. The evidence was undeniable, but instead of confrontation, Arif said nothing. He simply showed up at work that day with his usual stoic expression, nodded at Rahim during the morning meeting, and left early. Rahim never returned to the office after that. His phone went silent. No one saw him again until the morning his lifeless body was discovered floating near Clifton's rocky shore, bruised and broken, with injuries that screamed of something far worse than suicide. When the news of Rahim's death broke, it sent shockwaves through the company. Employees gathered in hushed circles, whispering theories and fears. Some believed he had taken his own life out of guilt or shame. Others were convinced he had been murdered, silenced before he could reveal secrets. But the official report, at first, called it an unexplained drowning, pending further investigation. The body had washed up on the rocky coastline near Clifton, battered and lifeless. His phone was missing, his wallet emptied, and there were bruises on his arms and face that didn't match the story of an accidental fall. Detective Adil Siddiqui was assigned to the case. He had handled dozens of high-profile deaths before, but something about this one felt different. The injuries on Rahim's body indicated a struggle, a broken rib, contusions on his back, and blood under his fingernails. These were not injuries caused by falling into the water. Someone had beaten him, possibly tortured him, and then dumped his body. The police began by questioning his co-workers. Most described Rahim as a quiet, decent man who had recently seemed distant and anxious. His manager mentioned that Rahim had taken a few days off without explanation. A junior colleague remembered him showing signs of paranoia, jumping at noises, constantly looking over his shoulder, and refusing to share what was bothering him. Several admitted they'd heard rumors of an affair, but no one could confirm anything concrete. Mwish Khan was brought in for questioning. She arrived dressed in black, face pale, voice shaking. She told the investigators that Rahim had been a trusted friend, someone her husband relied on. She denied any romantic involvement and claimed to have no knowledge of the threats he'd received or the fear he had been living in. She wept softly when they asked her about the last time they spoke. Still, her answers were rehearsed, too perfect, as if prepared in advance. Arif Khan, when summoned, was calm and collected. He said he hadn't seen Rahim in over a week, and denied receiving any email or photographs. He portrayed himself as a betrayed employer mourning a lost talent. But Detective Adil wasn't convinced. He sensed something off, in both husband and wife. The lack of emotion, the inconsistencies in timelines, the refusal to admit knowing about the affair, it all felt too clean. Then, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Rahim's childhood friend, Imran, came forward with several voice notes Rahim had sent in the weeks before his death. In one of them, Rahim said he felt like he was being followed. In another, he mentioned someone blackmailing him with photos. In the final message, Rahim said he was meeting someone the night he disappeared, someone who promised answers. Digital forensics traced Rahim's last online activity. He had been searching names linked to hotel records, CCTV repairmen, and dismissed employees. One name came up repeatedly: Jamal, a former IT staffer at the company, fired 6 months ago for accessing private files. When police located Jamal's apartment, they found the door unlocked, lights off, and his body slumped over a desk. The cause of death, poisoning, just like Rahim. Jamal had secrets. And now, he was gone too. The discovery of Jamal's lifeless body shifted the investigation into darker territory. It was now evident that Rahim's death wasn't an isolated incident. Two men connected by secrets, both dead within weeks. The investigators dug deeper into Jamal's life and found a cluttered mess of digital trails. Hidden folders on his laptop revealed hundreds of files, surveillance footage, photographs, emails, and audio recordings. It was a goldmine of information, and right in the center of it all was Mwish Khan. Jamal had been collecting data on Rahim and Mwish for months. He had backdoor access to the company's security system, and through it, he downloaded office CCTV footage that showed late-night visits and private meetings. He also had photographs from hotels and restaurants, likely taken by accomplices or insiders he had bribed. But buried among the evidence were email exchanges that changed everything. Jamal hadn't been working alone. He had been hired. The encrypted messages traced back to an anonymous account that, when cracked, led investigators to a shocking discovery. The sender was Mywish herself. At first, the theory seemed unbelievable. Why would Mywish hire someone to gather evidence of her own affair? But the puzzle pieces began to fit. Mywish had meticulously orchestrated the blackmail. She had paid Jamal to photograph her with Rahim, build a dossier, and then anonymously leak it to Arif. Her goal wasn't to get caught. It was to make Arif furious enough to divorce her. With enough proof of infidelity, Arif's ego would never survive the scandal. A public split would favor her financially. She had no prenuptial agreement, and half his empire would be hers. But things spiraled out of control. Jamal got greedy. After fulfilling his task, he demanded more money. He threatened to release everything to the press if she didn't pay. Mywish panicked. She poisoned him with wine during a meeting, staged his death as a suicide, and deleted their message history. But Rahim became the bigger problem. He began asking questions. He started to pull away, sensing something wasn't right. He had no idea Mywish was the one who sent the threats, and when he tried to break things off, she saw it as betrayal. Mywish called Rahim the night he disappeared. She asked to meet him by the sea, claiming she had something important to share. Witnesses later recalled seeing a woman matching her description near the beach that night, wearing a long coat and dark glasses. Rahim never returned home. Investigators believed she lured him there under the pretense of reconciliation and then killed him during an argument, either by pushing him into the rocks or striking him first. Either way, she made sure the body wouldn't be found until it was too late. When the police confronted Mywish with the evidence, her mask of sorrow crumbled. She was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder, conspiracy, blackmail, and destruction of evidence. The trial drew national attention. Arif Khan remained silent throughout the proceedings, quietly filed for divorce, and later disappeared from public life. In the end, the affair that had once burned with passion had turned to ash, leaving behind betrayal, greed, and death. What started as a secret love ended as a twisted plot of manipulation, a reminder that some desires, when fed in darkness, can destroy everything they touch.